right? So I was giving you an example of how ideas about the diet or nutritional requirement of kids have been changing over the years. Sometimes they say use fat, sometimes they say don't use fats. Then they say, well, we have very good quality food supplements and food nutrients, dry powders. You can just give these to your kids to make their bones strong and blah, blah, blah. And then they say, well, these are really dangerous for kids because they are creating some abnormalities in their character sometime, like behavior. They are becoming aggressive, they are getting fat and blah, 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 right? So these ideas are evolving over the time. These ideas are changing. So because of that, we can see dramatic changes in the diet as well. Clear? So why I spent this much time on these few lines? I want you guys to think in depth, not in exam actually. Try to develop this habit. This will, after some time of such readings, maybe a month or so, you will find that your understanding of the text has improved a lot. Okay, you have started understanding, like maybe if you right now you understand 30%, then your understanding level has reached up till 80% maybe. Okay, so if you gain this thing in 1 month, that will be a big achievement. But obviously in exam you don't have to go into such depth unless it is required. Some questions are so tricky that you have to go into the depth, but other than that you can just use different techniques and tips to find the right answer. Is that clear? But you, during your practice test, I would recommend you guys to go into the depth of the text. So now we know that this first paragraph talks about dramatic changes in the diet, and in that it tells us three factors that have caused these changes. One factor is technological changes, then social changes, and then changes in the concept or ideas about nutritional need of kids. And as an example, it is given us or shown us that before World War I, children and adults used, their diet or their meals were almost alike, consisting of this data. That's it. Now read the second paragraph. Now I'll be fast, and because I conveyed the meaning that I wanted you guys to start working on from today. Imagine a 12-year-old Australian boy from this year standing next to a 12-year-old boy of 2010. What does this sentence mean? It means it is comparing a 12-year-old boy from Australia of 1970 and of 2010. The boy from 2010 will probably be 3.5 centimeter taller and 7 kg heavier than his counterpart in 1970. Now, in such kind of paragraphs, you don't have to, focus on these figures. You just have to see that, well, in 2010, the boy of 2010 is taller and is heavier. That's it.
Yes.
If question ask about specific number, like how much tall or how much taller, then you can come and you can see that number. Otherwise, you will just get lost in these figures. Clear? In such type of
Yes.
text, I would just request you to focus on the broader meaning. And the broader meaning here is that this author is comparing a 12-year-old Australian boy of 1970 and 2010. And we know that the author says that the boy of 2010 is taller and heavier than the boy of 1970. He will also be 25% fatter, heavier and fatter. A lot of that fat would be around the waist. Okay. In 2010, School trousers, the school 2010 school trousers won't fit the boy from 1970. Now, all these things are showing that the boy of 2010 is fatter.
Yes, sir.
They will
Yes.
probably be 10 centimeter too big around the waist of a boy from 1970, obviously. So, all these lines only mean that the boy from 2010 is taller, heavier, fatter.
Okay.
Okay. Now imagine that the two boys have a running race over 1600 meter. The boy from 1970 will finish 300 meters ahead, means earlier than his mate from 40 years in the future, means 1970, from 1970, 40 years in future means 2010. So now here's another comparison that is of physical activeness. And we see that, well, the boy from 2010 is taller, heavier, and fatter, but the boy of 2070, sorry, 1970 is faster,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So that is all you have to see. And now, if any
Yes.
question asks you some specific number, you can come and you can see the number. Okay. Now I'm moving forward, and here again, I want you guys to focus on some points. There are two chances in three that the boy from 1970 walked to school each day. What does this mean?
Sixty-seven percent, 66, 67% chance is that the guy of 1970 will be walking to school every day
Right,
because at
right.
that time there will be not enough transport or something like that.
Very, very right. Very right. Good, Amjad. So that means if I put it simple, without going into the calculations, I can say that out of three boys or three students, two would walk to the school.
Right.
Clear? Now here,
Yes,
I
sir.
also want to tell you one point. There are two words. One is used to, and have I explained this thing earlier in writing? Or second is would.
Not yet.
Whenever we want to talk about something in the past that was a regular habit or that used to happen regularly, we use this word, used to. For example, I say when I was a kid, I used to go to my grandma's home. Okay? Home. Okay, ma'am, I'm just writing grand's home, right? Oh, sorry. Home during summer holidays. So that means that was a regular habit in the past. In our native language, we say, जब मैं बच्चा था तो school जाता था या उधर जाता था. That means that was a
Yes, sir.
continuous practice. An alternate of saying the same thing is, I would go to my grandma's home. So these both have the same meaning, used to or would. In this context, they have same meaning. Would is also used on certain other occasions. Now, if you see the use of would here, now you would understand that the boy from 1970s walked to school each day, right?
Yes, sir.
There are three chances in four that the boy from 2010 is driven to the school by mom or dad. Now you see, out of three, two guys are walking. And here in 2010, out of four, three are, driven to the school or dropped to the school by their mother or father on car or some vehicle, as Amjad said. Now, what I want you guys to just to take a broader idea, don't go into the figures again. Two out of three, three out of four. But we have got the meaning that in 1970, people used to be more physically active than in 2010. This is the main meaning. That's it. So there are four chances in five. In 1970, the boy was allowed to play unsupervised in the neighborhood, in their streets maybe. But here, there is only one chance in four that in 2010 the boy will be allowed to go down to the park on his own. Then again, in the boy in 1970 probably played 3 or 4 different sports. The boy from 2010 plays only one or none. It is 30 times more likely that a local river was the favorite play space of the boy from 1970 than it is for the boy today. So what does this whole paragraph tells us? This tells us that the boys or the kids of 1970 were, physically more active than those of 2010.
Yes, sir.
Now, I want you guys to read this paragraph number D, one by one sentence at a time, starting from Abdurrahman, and please explain me its meaning.
Okay, what has caused these dramatic changes in the space of a single generation?
So, what are the reasons that have caused these dramatic changes in just one generation, in just a gap of 40 years? Things have changed so much. So, what are the factors?
Mm,
What is the main reason? Next, Shakil,
okay.
Yes, sir.
please read.
There are two main theories.
Hmm.
Increasing our weight is
Overweight.
caused by an
Hmm.
energy imbalance, either energy intake increase or
Increases.
energy expenditure decreases, or both.
Okay. Okay. So now explain me this thing. You are a research student, so it is a typically research language. Okay.
Yes, sir. So in this sentence, author
Explains.
uh, explains regarding energy imbalances, sir.
Okay. So he is actually
Uh,
telling us that to understand the cause of these dramatic changes or about the cause of these dramatic changes, there are two theories. And those theories are related to energy imbalance. Okay. Either it is because we or kids are taking more food, okay, with same level of physical activity. Their
yes, sir.
physical activity is same, but they are taking more food. Because of that, their weight has gone up.
Yes, sir.
And other theory says no, food is same, or their
Energy.
physical activity has reduced.
Yes, sir.
So that is why they have, gained the weight. And or both of them, like physical activity has also gone down and their diet has also gone up. So both of these theories are based on these ideas. Now let's see, let's read these theories one by one. Amjad, unmute, please.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
On the gluten theory part.
The gluttony, again, I told you,
Sorry.
just don't worry about the pronunciation about of these names. The gluttony or whatever. Amjad, are you there? Please go ahead.
Yes, yes, I am just reading.
Read it aloud.
Okay, sorry. The gluten theory argues that children are fatter because they are eating more than they used to,
Hmm.
and more bad food, high energy density, high in fat and sugar, high in saturated fats.
Okay, enough. So what does this theory says? This theory says that children are eating more, and not only more, in fact, more bad food. Bad food
Yes.
means which is high energy density, like more fats, more carbohydrates, more sugar, more saturated fats, right?
Hmm.
Now, Abdurrahman, next line.
The slow theory argues that children are fatter because they are less active than they used to be.
Hmm.
The two theories have battled in one in it has battled it out in nutrition and physical activity journals for the last 10 years.
Right. So other theory says no, it's because of their lesser physical activity. And both
Mm.
of these theories, have been countering each other, or you can say they have been putting arguments against the other theory for last 10 years in nutrition journals and in physical activity journals. Right. So that's the end of these paragraphs. Now, that was about how to read. Obviously, I have gone too slow, but this
Okay.
was just to tell you the way of reading. Okay? And if you
Yes.
practice this way for 1 month, trust me, your reading will drastically improve. Amjad has witnessed it. Alhamdulillah. Uh, I mean, this is my strength. I got 9 in reading without any preparation at all. Okay,
Mashallah,
Mm.
sir.
and Amjad knows that uh, he has been studying with me. Whatsoever document you put in front of me, I can get the meaning. If not 100%, I can get the meaning 90% at least. Right? It is not, I'm not just saying like just I'm not trying to portray myself high. I just want to tell you that this is my way of reading. Okay, and it is effective actually. But obviously, this requires practice of some months at least, right? Obviously, I have developed this habit over years, but you can't wait for years to appear in the IELTS. So at least I would recommend you to practice this technique for 1 month, and inshallah you will see the change.
Inshallah, sir.
Now we have read it thoroughly. I want you guys to answer some questions
Yes,
without
sir.
looking at the passage. Can you tell me that uh, the information here in 1, 2, and 3, there's some points written here. Can you tell me where you found these points? You have 3 options: near the beginning, in the middle, and near the end. Now, if you remember,
Um,
there were 4 paragraphs: A, B, C, and D.
and C.
Okay, and in this, you can say A as beginning, D as end, and B and C as middle. So now, a comparison of children now and in the past. Where did you find this information? Can you recall
In
it?
the
B,
middle, sir.
B,
In the middle,
B and
yeah,
C.
B and C
Yeah.
actually. In
Yes, sir.
B, we saw a comparison of their physical dimensions, height, weight, and so on. And in
Yes,
C,
sir.
we saw the comparison of their physical activity.
Yes, sir.
Different hypotheses for the changes in weight.
C
Where did,
near the end, last
near the
paragraph.
end, in the last
Two
paragraph, we found 2
theories.
theories or 2 hypotheses.
Yes, sir.
A list of factors that brought about changes in our diet.
Near the
I
beginning,
have,
sir.
yeah,
Beginning
obviously, I
end.
have talked about so much, about these
Yes.
factors a lot. So now you are clear what factors I'm talking about. Now, if you
Yes,
see,
sir.
if you would have just moved forward without that explanation, and someone would have asked you, okay, a list of factors, you would have been shocked. Oh my God, I haven't seen any factors there in the whole passage, maybe.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now these were just general questions. Move forward and let's see some specific questions. Here you have to give me exact paragraph A, B, C, D for these answers. A comparison of children now and in the past. We have covered it, B and C,
Yes, sir.
right? Different hypotheses for the changes, paragraph D. And
D.
a list of factors that brought about changes, A. So I have covered
Yes.
these 2 exercises, altogether. Generally speaking, now this is general format of all these exercises. Sometimes there
Yes,
are
sir.
3 separate exercises. Those exercises gradually build your understanding. But what I do, I try to cover all those exercises all together in one, like I did just now. In the previous
Ye-
exercise, they just ask you, in a broader sense, okay, near the beginning, in the middle, near the end. And the next exercise
Yes, sir.
specifically ask you which paragraph. So, I've covered both of these exercises in one go. Now,
Yes.
we will have some more questions about this, but before that, try to understand one thing. If you remember, we talked about the purpose of reading test yesterday. And one of the purposes of reading test was that what is the overall meaning of a passage. And I gave you an example of that, in which I explained, my history, or you can say I introduced myself, maybe my life of my last 15 years, and I asked you what was the overall purpose. So
Okay.
whenever a question is based on whole text, we say that the focus of this question is global. Global means overall, on the whole passage,
Yes, sir.
right? So what we will do, we will start from global scope, and then we will start penetrating in the passage, and we will reach into the depth or details of every line. So right now we are talking about global understanding. And when I say
Okay.
global understanding, it means I'm focusing on the whole passage. There are different types of questions in IELTS that focus on the whole passage. And one of these, question, or one of these questions is, choose a suitable title for the passage, right? They have given you a passage, and that passage has a heading. It already has a heading with it. But at the end of this passage, or you can say at the end of this section, they ask you one thing, and that one thing is, choose a suitable title for this passage, and they give you some options: A, B, C, and D.
Okay.
Clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. Generally speaking, this question would come at the end of a section. Why?
At the ending?
At the end of the section.
Okay.
Why? Whenever, let's say this is my section 2. Okay, from here section 2 has started, and this is a complete passage for section 2. After that, they will start questions about this passage. Let's say it starts from question number 14, then
Yes,
question
sir.
number 15, then 16, then 17. So your question number 26 will be the last question, or question number 27 will be the last question of this section.
Yes, sir.
And before this question, you have already answered about 12 or 13 questions.
Yes, sir.
And to answer these 12 or 13 questions, you have read the whole passage. And now if I ask you, choose a suitable title for this passage, that makes sense, because now you have read the whole passage, and now you can decide about the title of the passage. Is that point clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so remember, these kind of questions generally comes just at the end of the passage. Okay, now you have already seen, uh, okay, one example I told you that focus is on the whole passage, or the global scope of the passage, is choose a suitable title. And another question is about the attitude of the writer. We'll talk about both of these things in coming exercises, and then these things will be more clear to you.
Okay, sir.
Now here, I want to clarify, or I want to distinguish between two words that I will be using. One is passage and second is paragraph. When I will talk about passage, sorry, it means whole text, all of the text, means all paragraphs. And when I would talk about specific paragraph, obviously it will be numbered as some specific paragraph, right? Now, if I talk about the passage that you just read, this passage contained 4 paragraphs. Do you remember?
Yes, sir.
So when I say passage, it means all these four paragraphs. And when I say paragraph, that means only 1 or 2 paragraph of it, right? So now, which title, A to D, would be the most suitable title for reading passage? You have got 4 options. Can you tell me a title for this passage? Can you choose any one of
D.
these? D?
B for my side. B for bat.
Oh, sorry. Okay, B for bat. Oh, you are not from bat. You are from Tiger's Dream, I guess. Amjad,
Sorry.
you are from Tiger's team. You are not from Bat's team, right? Okay. So this is from Amjad, right? Next, anyone, any other option?
Okay.
So D, the impact of modern technology on today's food production.
Okay, this is from Shakil. So what about you, Abdurrahman?
Okay. Is the first paragraph only, yeah?
No, it's about whole passage.
A whole passage. Okay. A whole passage.
Title for whole passage.
Okay. 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 B. I'm with
Amjad, right?
B.
Amjad, right. So B is the correct answer. A, obviously, there's nothing explained here in which, they talk about the eating pattern or eating habit of children's. They just mimic or they just copy or match those of their parents. So this is out of question, totally out of question, right? If I talk about D, the impact of modern technology on today's food production, it is only talking about food production. That is only one part. Within technological
Yes, sir.
changes, it is not about transport, it is not about refrigeration. Maybe
Yes, sir.
food production is related to canning to some extent, right? So this is one
Yes, sir.
specific example. This heading or this title is not covering all 4 paragraphs. Remember this thing.
Yes, sir.
Whenever you match or you give a title to the passage, it must cover the concept of whole or all the paragraphs.
Yes, sir.
So this is wrong. Now, a demonstrated positive link between diet and health in children. So that means if diet goes good, health improves, but it does not talk about health actually. And there's no as such positive link, here. So only thing is
Yes, sir.
rapid transformation. Right from the first line, what is written? The diet of children has changed dramatically. Okay, and dramatically means rapid change. And that has been
Yes, sir.
paraphrased here. Rapid transformation means dramatic change.
Yes, sir.
Okay, same thing or same concept is again explained here. If you see in the last paragraph, what has caused these dramatic changes? So that is again rapid transformation. Fine. So
Yes.
B is the most appropriate answer for that. Now let's move forward and see another example. That is another uh, global question that you may encounter. Okay, and that global question is, you have to tell me which of the following describes the writer's tone in this passage. Writer's tone in the passage. A, B,
Okay,
C,
sir.
D. You have these four options. Just give me your options one by one.
A for Amjad.
A for Amjad, right?
He is given. Yes, sir.
Okay, Abdurrahman.
Yeah,
A, all of you
I
are.
say
Okay, that's fine. Your answer is correct. And why not B? Because Amjad said it.
B.
No,
No,
no.
C.
Because, uh,
Okay.
because the question, the answer is in the question actually. He's asking just about the tone. During the entire course of the
Yeah,
passage,
yeah.
we didn't find the author shocked or being very enthusiastic or any doubt is there. He's just discussing
Awesome. Awesome
two
explanation. Well
points.
done, Amjad. Well done, Amjad. Perfect. Right. If, writer would have been shocked, there would have been some words like surprisingly or amazingly, you see, something like that. But writer
Yes, sir.
doesn't use any such word. So that means he's not surprised at all. He's not shocked at all. Similarly, if I
Yes, sir.
say enthusiastic, then there would have been some words interestingly or something like that. So again, there's no enthusiasm shown about that. If if I talk about doubtful, then there would have been some words like it was against our predictions, or ironically. What is, by the way, what is the meaning of ironically? I've explained it earlier. Ironic.
Yes.
What is the meaning of ironic?
Very firm
No.
sound
Whenever we find
Ironic.
something,
tone.
whenever we find something against our expectation. In fact,
Yes, sir.
you can say, if something is expected out of something, someone, some place maybe, and actually actually the ground situation or ground reality is different from it, we call it ironic. For example, if I say that internet is supposed to connect us, but actually it is isolating us from our families. So now
Yes,
this is
sir.
an ironic situation. That expectation was that internet will connect people, but ironically it is disconnecting people. uh, our leaders are supposed to take decisions in the best interest of the country, of the nation. This is general expectation. But if they are not doing it, we would say ironically they are, going against it, let's say. Clear? So whenever,
Yes,
you
sir.
know this author would have been doubtful about something, he might have used, okay, this was my expectations, but results are somewhat different. So maybe it's going ironic or something like that. So, but here if you see, the author clearly defines that, okay, these are the facts, these are the changes, these are the reasons, these are the observations. And in the last, he talks about two theories, and that's it.
Yes.
that these two theories are there and they have been debating with each other or fighting with each other for last 10 years. He has not supported any of these theories. So now let's move forward.
Yes.
And from global, now let's enter into scanning for detail. Let me see. We don't have that much time that if we start this exercise, this topic, I may not be able to finish it. But I want you guys to read it
Okay.
with me in next 5 minutes. Okay? Next
Okay,
five
sir.
minutes we'll spend on it, and then Abdurrahman, do you want to go now? If you want to go, I can stop it here.
Mm, yeah, it's just like 2 minutes past the prayer.
Okay, you may leave then. You may leave. Okay, I'm stopping it here. I'm stopping it here. This is your assignment, all of you. This is your assignment. Okay, you have to
Okay,
read this
sir.
passage in detail, but please do not consult dictionary. I don't want you to 100%
You know?
understand this. I mean, if you don't know any meaning, just forget it. I want to
Okay,
give
sir.
you a
Okay, sir.
real-time experience. So this is your assignment. Don't consult dictionary and read it thoroughly. Read it 10 times maybe, but don't consult dictionary. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Okay, Allah Hafiz, sir.
Amjad, you please stay back. Allah Hafiz.
I am here.
Okay.
Allah Hafiz, sir.
Allah Hafiz. Right. So I told you something what I had to do.
You have to share